Hello BGMI warriors, welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the world of BattleGrounds Mobile India, also known as BGMI. I am your host, and today we have an exciting topic to discuss, which is how to choose the best drop location in BGMI. We will provide you with in-depth analysis and strategies with examples to help you make the most strategic decisions. So, let's dive right in. Before we move to strategies, let's discuss why drop location is so important in BGMI. Loot advantage. Choosing the right drop location provides players with a loot advantage. Different areas on the map offer varying levels of loot quality and quantity. Opting for high-tier loot areas, such as Pochinki or military base, increases the chances of finding powerful weapons, armor, and essential supplies early on. This advantage can give players an edge in subsequent encounters, enhancing their survivability and combat effectiveness. Avoiding early confrontations. Strategic drop selection allows players to avoid early confrontations, especially in high-risk areas. Dropping in popular hotspots like school or boot camp often leads to intense fights immediately after landing. By selecting less crowded areas or dropping away from the plane's trajectory, players can minimize the risk of early elimination and focus on looting and positioning themselves for the later stages of the game. Circle management. The first circle's position is crucial in BGMI, as it determines the initial safe zone. Choosing a drop location near the edge of the circle reduces the distance players need to travel to reach safety. This saves valuable time and resources, enabling players to focus on looting, strategizing, and engaging in combat rather than constantly running to stay within the safe zone. Adaptability and flexibility. While planning a drop location is important, being adaptable and flexible is equally crucial. The dynamic nature of BGMI requires players to assess the situation continuously. If the chosen drop location appears too crowded or unfavorable due to the flight path or other players' movements, players must be ready to change their plans on the fly. This adaptability allows them to make quick decisions and select alternative drop locations that offer better opportunities for success. Overall, drop selection holds immense significance in BGMI. It determines a player's loot advantage, helps avoid early confrontations, aids in circle management, facilitates team coordination, and requires adaptability. By carefully considering these factors and making informed decisions, players can set themselves up for a strong start, increasing their chances of survival and ultimately achieving victory in the game. Map overview. The first step is to analyze the flight path. Keep an eye on the plane's trajectory and the distance it covers. This will help you determine the hot zones in the less crowded areas. Remember, high-risk areas often have better loot, but they also attract more players, increasing the chances of early confrontations. Hot zones versus less crowded areas. Now, let's discuss some popular drop locations and their advantages. Pochinki. Pochinki is a high-risk, high-reward location. It's a popular spot due to its central position on the map and the abundance of loot. However, be prepared for intense early game fights as many players drop here. School or boot camp. These locations are known for their high-tier loot, making them attractive to aggressive players. If you're confident in your combat skills, dropping here can give you a significant advantage. But remember, it's a high-risk area with a high chance of encountering multiple enemies. Georgopol. Georgopol offers a good balance between loot and safety. It has multiple buildings with decent loot and is often less crowded compared to Pochinki or school boot camp. Consider dropping here if you prefer a more strategic approach. Military base. The military base is another high-risk, high-reward location. It's situated on an island, making it less accessible for players who drop far away. If you manage to secure the loot here, you'll have a good chance of gearing up quickly. However, be prepared for intense fights and the possibility of being stranded on the island. Now that we've discussed some popular drop locations, let's move on to strategies for choosing the best one. Assess the plane path. As mentioned earlier, analyzing the flight path is crucial. Look for areas that are far from the plane's trajectory, as they are likely to have fewer players. This can give you more time to loot and prepare for the later stages of the game. Let's say the plane is flying from the southwest to the northeast, and the flight path is closer to the western side of the map. In this case, areas like Pochinki, school, and military base are likely to have more players dropping. To avoid early confrontations, you can choose a location like Georgopol or Razak, which are farther away from the plane's trajectory. Consider your playstyle. Are you an aggressive player who enjoys early fights, or do you prefer a more cautious approach? Choose a drop location that aligns with your playstyle. If you're confident in your combat skills, high-risk areas might be suitable for you. Otherwise, opt for less crowded locations. If you're an aggressive player who enjoys early fights, let's say you decide to drop in school. As soon as you land, you quickly find a weapon and engage in combat with other players who also drop there. This aggressive approach can give you an advantage if you're confident in your combat skills. Prioritize loot quality. While quantity matters, don't overlook the quality of loot. Some areas may have a higher chance of spawning high-tier weapons and armor. Consider dropping in locations known for their good loot spawns to increase your chances of finding powerful gear. Imagine you're playing a squad game, and your team prefers a more strategic approach. You decide to drop in Jorgopal. As you loot the buildings, you find high-tier weapons, armor, and attachments. This quality loot gives your team an advantage in later stages of the game, increasing your chances of survival. Adapt to the situation. Sometimes, the best drop location may change based on the circumstances. If you notice many players dropping in your intended location, be flexible and switch to a backup plan. It's better to avoid early confrontations if you're ill-equipped. Let's say you initially planned to drop in Pochinki, but as you're descending, you notice several other players heading towards the same location. Realizing that it might be too crowded and risky, you quickly change your plan and opt for a less crowded area like Milta or Lipovka. This adaptability allows you to avoid early confrontations and gives you more time to gather loot. Circle position and drop location. Before choosing a drop location, take a look at the first circle's position. If it's far away from the plane's trajectory, dropping in a central location like Pochinki or school might not be the best choice. Instead, consider dropping near the edge of the circle to minimize the distance you'll have to travel later on. Map terrain and drop location. Utilize map knowledge. Familiarize yourself with the map and its various terrains. Some locations offer natural cover, such as hills, forests, or buildings, which can provide tactical advantages. For example, if you drop near the shelter in Miramar, you can use the underground tunnels and buildings for cover and surprise your opponents. Team coordination and drop location. If you're playing in a squad or duo, communication and coordination are key. Discuss with your teammates and choose a drop location that suits your collective playstyle. For instance, if your team prefers a stealthy approach, dropping in smaller, less crowded areas like Lipovka or Severny can allow you to loot peacefully and regroup before engaging in fights. Overall, choosing the best drop location is just the first step. Once you land, make sure to assess the situation, gather loot efficiently, and plan your next moves accordingly. Until next time, happy gaming.